Refresh my screen.
Let's see if this does anything. Oh boy. Oh, he says see you now. Okay, cool.
Huh.
We're just waiting for Twitch to come back up. Twitch is taking... I think it might have been a hiccup on Twitch's end. Sorry guys if the stream hiccuped for a little bit. I don't even have Twitch video anymore, but they say they can see me, so I will take their word for it. Yeah, we have tech issues, and I hate having tech issues because there's nothing I can do about it.
It's actually normal on Twitch, so I think people are pretty much used to it. Sometimes things go down and come up.
No way, Twitch is perfect. All right, so we're back up. But I did want to say, I did want to go over something. Let me scroll back up and find it. Before we type that in, I know Fix the Geek he talked about sort of his notes on his iPhone being full, and kind of, I guess he just records them like via Siri or something. I wanted to the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I have a habit of writing notes that I never actually read during a session. Very rarely do I reference my notes. Even writing them for me is just a way of helping remember them, I guess.
Yeah.
But then I never actually check them. But also you were talking about Rise of the Moonlords and kind of running it by the book, and I think it's funny that let me turn this pirate fantasy music down. That's going on in the background. I just have YouTube on a loop of
favorite music.
No, but I had Rise of the Moonlords, like the first book, and specifically the first session. I've run the first session, like the festival thing, so many times that I can run it in my sleep.
Yeah, and, that's right.
But it's one of those things where my players commented on it in this most recent time that I ran it. Because I know the setup, I know everything so well that I don't have to focus on on getting I can spend time on descriptions, on sights and sounds and smells and controlling it, and just knowing everything that well. For me, obviously, it makes me never want to run it again. But I know that when I get players to play through it, they always have it's always a good time for them because there's a lot more. It's like when for them they get to see what it looks like when a DM doesn't have to shuffle through his notes and
and it makes it seem so much realer because you're just responding to the question with a matter of facts of what reality's like. And,
you're much quicker, and of course it's not how the rest of the game will go at all. But but
that's something you can do. That's something you can do if you are happy to mash the rules a little bit, or to mash the names of the NPCs, or to change things, spontaneously. And I think that's the element that I was missing when I first started running Burn Offerings. I wanted to make sure I got it right, and I think it's a real problem if you're doing a creative, dynamic storytelling that's affected by the players at every single moment. And there are, just cool ideas that just occur to you as they would if you were running your own adventure, which you were making up on the spot. And, just go with it.
Yeah.
There's going to be no writer at Paizo who's going to ring you up and come and, sort of punch you in the nose for sort of changing their, decision that they agonized over for a whole day about what was going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to love it.
I joked with someone a while ago that I wish, just as we have sort of soundboards like Syrinscape for sounds, someday there will be a soundboard that I could just press a button and my players will all smell exactly what I'm describing.
Yeah.
Because
Adventure Sense. Do you know about Adventure Sense?
I know about them. Unfortunately, you can't send those via the internet yet. I know they're working
on it.
Right. They're working on it, but...
Treat the speaker in a particular way. I smell smoke! It's because that's right. That's cool. Yeah, look, they're amazing. I mean, they'll be at Gen Con, and there are lots of different cons, and you can buy the stuff over the internet, and they've just done some really awesome stuff. And you just got to manage clearing the smell, or getting into the room, and it works really well. And it's hilarious, Adventure Sense, because we love them, because we can basically just send fans of one thing to the other thing, because there's like no competition between us at all, and anyone who's interested in Syrinscape will love that kind of immersion thing as well, and vice versa. So we just love on each other all the time because they're great people, and they had one of the best Kickstarter videos I've ever seen, right at the very, very beginning, with a fantastic narrative, hilarious characters, and just this real annoying gnome who was cutting into the broadcast, and it was really great. Because I've seen some terrible Kickstarter videos that you watch sort of a minute and a half, and your ears are bleeding with boredom, yeah, they're really, really great. So try that if you want the immersion.
Yeah, if you guys have a group around a table, definitely check them out. If you are like me and you are a streamer,
of course, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a streamer, I'm still sending them. I tweet them every so often. They are developing it, but I don't know when their delivery date for Digital Sense is going to be. It's an emerging technology, but we'll get there eventually.
Yes. I was just thinking about delivering, as in buying on eBay and having it delivered. But yeah, because you're playing online. Yeah.
I'll send one to every player. Now you need to open this container.
That's right. No, not the sewer. But elf maiden smells really gross.
Oh Lord. So we're coming up. We're at the top of the hour here. So why don't we just go ahead and do a couple little things before we dive into the second half of the show. For those of you who are just joining us or have been hanging out with us, thank you so much. You're hanging out here on the Fuzzy Dice Show on the Exploding Dice channel with me, Askren, and my friend Ben, as we talk about all different kinds of things. Yeah, so thank you guys for hanging out. If you guys want to keep up with everything that goes on here on the Exploding Dice channel, you want to keep up with every guest that we have on this show, and Jay Snide, thank you so much for following. You should follow Jay Snide's example and hit that follow button and join the madness here, and you can keep up with everything that happens on Exploding Dice. Like I said, Fuzzy Dice here, different guest every week. Just to give you guys a little preview, this next week, next Tuesday, I will have another guest. My guest is the writer and editor of the Sly Flourish blog, and also the writer of the Lazy Dungeon Master book. So he'll be hanging out with me. That is, what's it called? He's going to be here. And also, I'm doing some things with Cobalt Press that I can't really talk about right now, but you will see those coming up in the future. Whoa. And thank you, Copacabana, also, for following. Welcome, and thank you so much. So why don't we get right into the second half of the show, which we're not really going to change a whole lot, but if you guys are hanging out with us in the second half, let me just hashtag Fuzzy.
I'm just doing some tweeting.
Yes, Mike, I'm going to be hanging out with Mike Shea from Sly Flourish. He will be here, well, not here, but he'll be there on the screen next to me. I can never figure out which way to point. He'll be on the screen next to me, and we'll be talking about all kinds of stuff. Mike is a really great guy. If you don't know, Sly Flourish is a great Dungeon Master blog. No, on the other side.
There's so much lag, I can't tell. Yeah, I want to point at you.
Yes, and I'm pointing here. For me, it should be here, but the webcam's flipped, and I don't know why. But yeah, Mike Shea is going to be hanging out with me next week. So, exclamation point Fuzzy in chat, where Dice Lou will tell you that we like to hang out and take Q&A from you guys. Just any questions that you have, you want to share D&D questions or stories, you want to get dungeon mastering tips, or you just want to let us know what's up, ask some questions about Syrinscape, maybe ask where Ben is going to be, what convention he's going to be at next, what's going on, in the world, in other places. Just ask, we're just hanging out in chat. We got about an hour or so left, so go ahead and shoot all those questions in chat. Mike from Unmade says, I think I need to hire you as my social media manager. Someone said that to me the other day. Brian Feister from Open Legend, he said that to me the other day, because I had sort of told him about all the people that I talk to on Twitter, and it's like, I don't know how I book these people. Like, I don't know how. I just bother them until they talk to me. That's basically my social media knowledge. I
think just being nice to nice people, I think, is the key in this industry. It's such a beautiful community, and I think if you just meet people, connect, and geek out about stuff you really feel passionate about. I've found people in gaming to be such warm, almost all tolerant, fun, chilled. It's been really incredible. And I'd never gone to a con 3 years ago. I think I went to Paizo Con 3 years ago before, so I'd never actually been in person with people. And cons are just wonderful place to hang out and meet and just drink or eat or play or do whatever. And it's great. And I think in terms of social media, I think connecting on Twitter and responding and being available, and I think that's one of the best things about Twitch is you can talk directly to people in companies, without having to go through some kind of official line. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I haven't actually been to a gaming con in forever. I do make it out to. Well, I live in New York, so the only. It's surprising. You'd expect more conventions out here, but the only one that I really know of is New York City Comic Con that I'm at every year. Sometimes I'm there as a vendor, sometimes I'm there as press, sometimes I'm just there to hang out and buy stuff. But they Wizards stopped having their booth at New York City Comic Con a while ago. What's going on, Nightfall? How are you doing? Can
I post links?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So you finish what you're saying, and then there's a question I can respond to. Yay!
Yeah. We'll read them out in just a second. But that's the thing is what I wanted to answer what you said, which is about people in gaming, and people ask me all the time. In fact, someone had told me, I forget exactly who, that they wanted to start a show, and they're just like, I want to do a thing, but I don't have the same connections you do, and I'm like, I don't have any connections. I just send people a message on Twitter and be like, hey, you want to hang out and talk about D&D? And very few people will actually say no. Very few people will be like, no, that's beneath me. I've had a couple people that have, unfortunately, I couldn't book. I tried to, and I bother him so much about it. I don't think I'll be able to book Matt Colville. I'm sure everyone knows who he is. I've tried to, but he, his response is that he always tells me he's way too busy and he just doesn't think that he can manage the time for it, which is fine. I don't hold that against him. Some people will be too busy, but other people, as long as you say hey man, just let me know when you're free and I'll accommodate you. And we come out, we hang out and talk D&D or something for so few people will say no to that, and it's you don't you just everyone that I've met is so nice, and it's so much fun to hang out with, and that's why I love doing this show so much, because every week I get to hang out with awesome people and meet new friends, and
yeah, absolutely.
It's great. Jay Snide threw a question in chat. He said he just found out about Syrinscape yesterday and he is enjoying it. How do you use it in Roll20 games?
So, if you go to our forum, which I've just posted a link to, there is lots of information for routing Syrinscape's sound through Skype or through TeamSpeak or through Google Hangouts, and the instructions are quite good, and that will basically just take your microphone feed from your game mastering, and also will then add in the sound of Syrinscape going down the pipe, and that's our sort of current solution. And then where we're headed is to actually also build a version of Syrinscape that has master and minion players. So the game master or dungeon master will have a master player, and each of the players will just boot up a little minion version and then sign into the game that the master has set up. And then anything the master clicks on the Syrinscape interface on his player will just be reflected on the player's machines as well. So that's where we're headed. We have really great integration with D20 Pro and with Fantasy Grounds and with Realmworks, all of which will route our URI calls. So there's some third-party integration that you can do in Syrinscape where you can actually just have a little text string that will click a button within the Syrinscape interface. So for instance, in all those games, you can actually just create an object which you click on within the interface, and that will trigger your Syrinscape on your local machine, and will also trigger a local player of Syrinscape on all the players' machines. So they'll be having pure sound from Syrinscape that doesn't go down the tubes. Roll20 haven't been able to build that integration yet, and there's quite a few people on the Roll20 forums who are asking for Roll20 to do that. So if you'd like that to happen in Roll20, then keep advocating for that. We've actually done everything we need to do on our end, and it's actually quite a simple integration for Roll20 to do that. You basically need the chat window or the communication between the computers to automatically trigger that URI, which just is like typing something into your run box in Windows. And then we have a little server that sits there listening in Syrinscape, and it goes, oh, and picks up that, and then triggers those sounds with it.
Oh, shit. Looks like we got
this idea before.
Oh, yeah. Skype had a hiccup.
Oh, good. We were talking about Chris's idea of telling people the outcome of their hits and misses. In Fantasy Grounds, you can actually attach a hit sound to the hit message, so that it automatically triggers on your machine, and automatically triggers on the players' machines, and plays the Syrinscape sound of someone being eviscerated or the dagger swooshing nearby but not making contact. So yeah, so all that. Did that all make sense? Yes. Go to the forums, and there's instructions for right now how you can do it. Advocate to Roll20 to actually do the integration that a number of other companies have already done, and yeah, there you can do it. Yay.
Yeah, if you guys, if you were like me, I sometimes tweet at the developer for Roll20. I have him on Twitter. I've sent him, we've hit him up as much as we can on the Mentor forums. Let them know that you want more integration. They work on some things, but I think what they work on is mostly decided by how many people yell at them. So if you guys go yell at them, they will probably do it. And thank you so much, Ender410, for hitting that follow button. Welcome, my man, and thank you for joining us. So definitely, I've done that whole Skype workaround. If you can get it working, it works just fine. It is a little complicated, and it takes kind of makes things finicky, but it's definitely doable. I know we had another thing that I wanted to read, but I can't find it. Yell louder. Yell louder.
Yeah.
All right. Copacabana says, I have a question as a D&D player. What is your opinion of whips in 5e? It doesn't really do much damage, but for RP mechanics like disarm and tripping, it could be good, right? That seems... I mean, that's something that's entirely up to your DM. I know an average amount about 5e. I am much more proficient in Pathfinder, and in Pathfinder, there's a very specific way that you can actually get whips to be useful, and even then they're completely mediocre, and the reason for that is because whips don't count as a martial weapon, and when you use them, unless you take a very specific chain of feats and a very specific type of whip, which is a spiked whip, they don't actually count as a weapon for threatening purposes, but they do let you extend your reach, and they do it. So if your DM is charitable, and I don't see why you wouldn't be, I mean, if a player wanted to specialize in whips, I'd make them spend a little bit of their resource to do it, but they could, I don't see why not. Like, they're sacrificing damage for the ability to trip and disarm. That's not, in 5th edition, that's not particularly an overpowered trait in any way.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things, obviously, one of the advantages of Pathfinder over Dungeons and Dragons is that you're able to express mechanically what you want your character to be really good at. And one of my frustrations in D&D 5 is that you want your character to be awesome at, leaping off and grabbing chandeliers and swinging across the room. And if there's not a mechanic for that, well, I'll just roll a dex check. But the reality of that means you're no more effective at chandelier swinging than anyone else. So what you have to do as a game master, as a dungeon master in that case, is to just make the rule in 5e. I mean, it's a really, really young game, so they don't have all those millions of splat books.
They've deliberately tried. Actually, will, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. They've tried to make the rules much simpler. I mean, the advantage of 5th edition over Pathfinder is that the rules are much easier and quicker to learn. So, and from the very beginning of Dungeons and Dragons, the rules I was just reading it in an advanced D&D Dungeon Master guide, just saying, just make the rules up. Just, +2 is your friend. Just say, that's fantastic. If you want to build into your character, as you said, trade off a bit of damage from your whip and make yourself into a trip sort of genius. Just make the rules. And 5th edition is obviously really straightforward to do that and you should be absolutely doing it. Yeah, and then what happens is, as if when a player does that, as I make, all the creatures have 8 legs.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right in the basic answers. I always like, if a player wants to specialize in something, I always basically the general rule is charge them something so they can be better than normal at it. Because there should always be no one should just be able to be good at something with no cost. There should always be a cost involved, whether that be a feat choice or in Pathfinder, like taxing someone a feat to be good at something is a pretty solid trade-off, because in Pathfinder you get lots of feats generally.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know, always charge them a little bit of something, and then allow them to specialize. Copa, oh no, that was Copa. Copa. So yeah, Copa, talk to your DM, see if you can work something out. Ender 410 says, I'm new at DMing in Pathfinder. Can you explain touch AC? I know how to calculate it, but what exactly does touch entail? Well, if you're new to Pathfinder, first of all I suggest going to d20pfsrd.com. That's the SRD for Pathfinder. All of the rules are there. It's searchable, and you can just type in anything you want to know, and it will come up. And if you go to the SRD and you type in touch AC, the first link that comes up will link you right to that. Basically, touch attack. So the way it works in Pathfinder is every NPC or player has two types of armor bonus. Well, multiple types of armor bonuses, but two basic types. You have your armor that comes from your dexterity, which is just you have 10 plus your dexterity bonus. Which is, it represents your ability to just dodge attacks naturally. And then you have your armor bonus, which is like the armor that you're wearing, your shield or magical armor. And so your touch AC is basically when someone makes a touch attack against you, they're essentially making an attack that bypasses your armor value. And the only thing that's represented is your dexterity.
So, for instance, if a wizard is trying to fire a freezing ray at you, and the armor is irrelevant, if it hits you at all, if it touches you, even on the outside of your armor, it's still going to damage you. That's when you'd use your touch AC. So you're still jumpy out of the way to dodge it, so your dex bonus still stays there. That's why it's there. But if they can actually touch you at all, or if it's if it's a melee touch attack, so they have to lay hands on you to sort of inflict horrible wounds. They can do that on the outside of your clothes, or on your hat, or on your shoe, or on the outside of your plate mail armor. That's what touch armor class does. Yeah, if neither of us have succeeded in explaining, then ask another question.
No, but basically the way it is, your armor, the metal that you're wearing, won't protect you from a fireball, because a fireball is just going to go and it's going to burn you anyway. Your dexterity still affects that, and so basically the way it's written is some attacks completely disregard armor, including shields and natural armor. The aggressor only needs to touch a foe for such attack to take full effect. Right. That's basically it. Touch attacks are made the same way as normal attacks are. They're just against a different defense. Hope that answers your question. If not, shoot it again. Yes, Copacabana and Fixing Heat, you're saying, I think whips in 5th edition are also finesse weapons. They were in Pathfinder too. You just needed to take the weapon finesse thing, but the thing about Pathfinder is whips themselves weren't actually considered weapons. They didn't threaten they don't allow you to make attacks of opportunity unless you take a specific feat thing for them.
But there's plenty of feats going around in Pathfinder, so absolutely, if you want a whip concept, then you've got to build around that whip concept. And so Marcus Rutherford in the DiceStormers games that are Under the Gods wields a whip, and he has, apart from his terrible rolling, Nathan has been highly effective at controlling what's going on in the battlefield. But also, at critical moments of the campaign, swinging his whip back and getting it caught in the circus tent, ropes. It's hilarious. And then, yes, as I mentioned in passing, when he arrived with this character, the very first adventure I had, not by me trying to be mean, but just by me being an idiot, every flaming creature had 4 or more legs. And if you're just trying to do damage with a whip rather than tripping, then you're doing it's 1d4 -1 or something. It's crazy, crazy low. So he really had built completely around the concept of tripping and controlling, and I completely nerfed his ability, which was very, very funny.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you specialize in one thing, I know Pathfinder has a habit of it. I wanted to, a long time ago, I wanted to build a character, and I still kind of do, build a character that used a polearm, and he specialized in making trip attacks. The problem is when you get up to the level where everything flies or is too big to trip, then what do? You can't do, you're not good at anything else.
Yeah, that's right.
Fix It Geek says, have you guys had to handle the habitually absent player, and how do you manage it if you did? I'll let you weigh in on this. I will be happy to jump in right after.
Yeah, wow. I mean, so people are always... you'll always have people who are absent every now and then, and you can choose to do things. You can come up with some intricate story reason for why the character has to stay back in town to do some research that will then be an advantage to the team later, because the player will get some extra knowledge, and that's a great way of feeding some of those sort of information things that might have a higher DC on investigation or whatever. Or the player's injured. We had Murray's character took quite a lot of damage near the end of the first session of Dragon's Demand. So we just literally said he was bedridden. He had to stumble back to town sort of with his tender bits all tenderized, and so we did that. Or you can just have the character fade into the background, sort of weirdly, like we do. Like familiars do. Wizards' familiars seem to just be sort of this dotted outline until every now and then the wizard player remembers that they've got a familiar, and suddenly, bing, they come into full Technicolor. But what humans respond to the best is positive reinforcement. So negative reinforcement doesn't tend to modify behavior as well as positive reinforcement. So reward the players who turn up. Reward them with actual mechanical advantages, whether it be hero points that they can save up later in the game, or treasure, or whatever. And then just, you don't even need to make it obvious that that's what's happening. You're trying to encourage people to turn up. And then I guess that's within game. If you've got an out of game issue that someone's absent or not just being able to, not really being able to turn up, then that's just a place for an actual conversation with that person where you're going, hey guy, hey mate, what's going on? Are you able to commit? We were expecting the beginning this was going to happen and that was going to happen. What's going on in your life? And then you've got to kind of work out why the person's missing. Maybe they're not enjoying themselves. That's an interesting thing. I'm coming up with so many ideas. Like I mentioned before, people come to the table for different reasons. So as I said earlier, like almost an hour ago, some players like to hit their problems and make them go away, because you can never do that in normal life. Often problems in normal life are complicated and unfixable. Other players come because they really, really like to intricately plan and execute something spectacular and really great. Some people come to the table because they love to just act spontaneously and break plans and do the thing that they never get to do normally in life, which is to be irresponsible. And, straight away you've got a clash in between those two playing styles, don't you? Other players want to come to the table because they just love mechanics and they love crunch and they love building a really powerful character and they love being able to be awesome every time it comes around to their turn. Other players come to the table because they love in-depth role-playing. Now, as a game master or a dungeon master, you've got to make sure you're meeting the needs of those players, at least for a chunk of time in each session, and thinking about what the player's getting out of. So if there is a player who's becoming more and more absent, it may be that their needs are not being met at the table, and that you can actually fix that by just talking to them about what maybe their needs are and what they might enjoy more, and then just seeing that happens. You really can just give 10 minutes of an entire evening really, really focusing in on the needs and what really pushes the buttons of the player, and you'll actually make their whole experience really, really good, and then they'll be willing to serve other people's needs as well. That's my massive monologue.
Yeah, the only thing I really have to add is if you happen to have attendance issues, almost every problem you have between players, whether it be players having a disagreement or attendance or whatever, is to sit down and talk, have a conversation about it. If it's one of those things where, like, you are not able, it impacts your ability to play the game when, like, especially if you have numbers, like if you only have three players playing, it's like, if we have one missing, we can't really play a game with two people. Then at that point you might want to say, like, hey man, should we just go find should we find a replacement? Like, we want to play, but if you kind of keep canceling on us, it kind of hurts morale and stuff. Talk about that. There's nothing wrong with it, and just don't. You don't need to pressure anyone into playing. Like, don't give someone crap if they want to play, but work keeps getting in the way. Just find find people to fill the gap and let them play when they can, and let it be a fun thing when they show up. That's the best I can suggest. Like, don't try not to make a huge deal out of it, because people have, as much as we all wish everyone could just show up every week and you have the whole group there and everyone gets everyone's ready to go. Sometimes things come up. I try and miss as few sessions as possible, even including the fact that I play like 4 games a week now on all the different stream channels. But sometimes things happen. Like sometimes it's just it is what it is.
And if they've got young children, we'll just totally expect them just to disappear pretty much for 6 months, a year, and just be really glad that when they're able to show up at all. Or if they're newly married as well. You know, it takes a lot to adjust, or a new job. Yeah, anything really new and big in their life is going to take them away a lot. And yeah, if you talk about it and ask them, and they're just saying, yeah, I am trying to, and I understand, and I'm so sorry, and blah blah blah, then yeah, just find a way of filling that seat when you need.
If you want to screen for that right up front, you can always tell people, like when players are joining the group, say like, hey man, are you expecting to change jobs in the next 6 months?
Yeah,
or like, are you planning on moving in the next, like, in the foreseeable future? Because those are things that will inherently chew through people's time, and just like if so, I generally, I mean, it's a weird thing to ask, but I generally like to ask players, right, like, are you expecting a child in the next, like, anytime soon? Because that's something I may have to take into account when we're building the game. And Jay Snide says I converted one player into being an NPC on the days he couldn't show. I guess. I mean, when someone's not there, I tend to just have them fade into the background, unless it's like a crucial combat thing, in which case I may run their sheet and have them use spells or something. If you guys are hanging out with us, by the way, thank you so much. Once again, we are just taking some time hanging out and answering a Q&A from you guys. If you have any questions you want to shoot in chat, whether they be just about D&D or gaming in general, or you want to ask Ben something about Syrinscape, anything like that. I guess while we wait for questions to roll in from people, are you guys? I know you guys were at the last Paizo convention. I saw a whole bunch of stuff in there. Are you guys planning on? You have anything else coming up that you guys are doing?
Yep, we'll be at Gen Con, which is very soon, with some amazing events there. So if you're at Gen Con, make sure you come and see Live RPG Plus, which is this incredible event where this year we've got an extraordinary team of Pathfinder writers, Eric Mona, Jason Bullman, Crystal Fraser, and Wes Schneider, like, oh my god. And I'll be trying to basically kill them in front of an audience, and we have a highly interactive game where the audience pretty much determines a lot of the outcomes. We give them random sort of magical items, and we give them character traits, and you just watch the players kind of squirm under the pressure of having to cope with all this torrent of hilarious information. And we've done this at PAX Oz for the last couple of years with sold-out events, and we've just started last year with at Gen Con, and that's going to be a huge event on Saturday night. Before that event, we'll actually be auditioning for the boss monster in Syrinscape. I'm actually going to be recording people live and then processing their voice, and then I'll use that voice, which we just recorded, using the Syrinscape soundset creator to port that into a Syrinscape soundset, and then use that monster in the final battle of that hour of play that follows. And we're going to get some audience reactions, like get the audience to yay and ooh and all that sort of thing. So that should be super fun. Awesome. Then there's some seminars. Then I'm going to Essen at in Germany, which is another great big con there. Sort of similar activities, and then we'll be down in PAX Oz. And I usually attend PaizoCon and UK Games Expo and other ones as well. It's pretty fun, actually.
They need to have more of those events actually close to New York, because I cannot afford to travel to like Gen. I wish I could afford it, but Gen Con is so far away, and like I can't get down there.
Well, if you're such a social media and you seem to have a lot of good connections, then maybe a GoFundMe could be on the cards for next year.
No, people will hang out with me on the show, but no, people. I'll be like, hey, give me. No, they're not gonna give me money. It's my success on that would be probably akin to like if someone. I'm trying to think of a horrible thing someone tried to fund. But I don't know. No, it wouldn't happen. Like go fund someone else. Go fund Lee Ginger Snapper running for like doing a marathon for charity. Don't fucking pay for it.
You're lovely. You're lovely.
No, she was a DM and a friend of mine who just raised a bunch of money for a charity run that she's doing, and she's doing it dressed up as Smeagol the goat. So Definitely donate money to that, or like all the charity streams. Don't fucking pay for me to go to Gen Con. That'd be a horrible waste of money. Jason Hyde says, if I send someone a gift voucher, I'm assuming this is talking about a Syrinscape gift voucher, will they get the same benefit of a permanent license for content released in that 2-month period?
That's precisely right. So that's right. So you can sign up to subscribe on a repeating payment from PayPal to, and it'll take your $6. It'll take your $10 a month out of your PayPal account, and you become Super Siren, and everything we release becomes yours own permanently. Or you can buy subscription vouchers, which you don't need a PayPal account for. You can just pay with a credit card using the PayPal portal. And absolutely, you can either apply those to your own account, or your friend can apply them to theirs as well. And that will give them the full rights as a Syrinscape subscriber, which meaning that everything that comes out while they're a subscriber, they own permanently and will never lose. And if it's a Super Siren subscription, it means they can use the creator, means they can upload their sound sets to the server, and that becomes content they can access. All that is totally true. So if you've got 5 players in a Dungeons and Dragons group or a Pathfinder group, you could each buy 1 voucher and basically set your game master up with complete access to everything in Syrinscape for the entire year. And they would go, "I love you," and then you'd have a far better chance of surviving your adventures. So yes is the answer, the short one.
Yeah, I've had the subscription that gets you everything for a while now, and I don't remember exactly when it just went on probably like 6 or when I started streaming. I think it just kind of went on my list of monthly expenses that I spend money on to keep to keep streaming and to keep my games running and stuff. Do it. It's
for instance, in June we released like $35 worth of content. So all the Super Sirens who paid $10 in June to have access now have permanent ownership of all that content. So that was a particularly generous month. But basically, our aim is to release at least it's usually somewhere between $12 and $16 worth of content every single month. So it's just basically a way of getting everything much more cheaply. And you really do need complete access to Syrinscape. In the current PC version and in the next version of all the players, there's a text box at the top of the left-hand column, and you can just type in, "Gobble," and then all the sound sets that have goblins in them appear in a sorted list. And you just click on straight on one. Yeah, 1.3.1. It's like as a beta on the downloads page at the moment, and that awesome, version has. I find myself so often just looking for lists. Yeah.
I need something here. What can I'm scrolling through the list and I can't find what I want to put out. Being able to search, that sounds really great. Yeah.
It's really, really great. There's just one bug with that means the music can end up overlapping itself if you push pause and then push play again. So we're just fixing that bug now, and then we'll release them all as official versions, which is great. And people have been asking for it for ages. Much like people mentioned Roll20 responding to what people want. Absolutely. Yeah. Pretty much the people who ask the loudest and ask the nicest. Every time someone does that, the priorities change and shift, because obviously we're just wanting to give people what's awesome in Sirenscapes.
Yeah, and also, definitely, and it goes back to the Roll20 thing. Like, because obviously the people developing the program don't know how the majority of people use the program, like use their things or what they want. So, like, when I remember back when Roll20 did their site redevelopment, like. They pushed a bunch of features, and we kind of had to, as a community, we had to tell them, like, we'd rather have this, up at the top and easily accessible, or, this blah, 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 than, and if if enough people say it, it will change. Ender410 said about Syrinscape, the creator, when is that out of beta, and will it still be only available in the subscriber pack?
Okay, right. So for Fantasy subscription, Endor, you pay $6.50 a month, which gives you complete ownership of everything we release and complete access to everything in the Fantasy player. Let's say a subscription to run our servers and to give you support and continue to develop the Syrinscape Soundset Creator would be $5 a month, which is what we'll probably do. So we basically thought, let's just bundle those together and give access for $10 a month as a Super Siren. So yes, sure, as the Super Siren subscriber, you get complete access and permanent ownership of everything you release in the Sci-Fi player and the board game player. And if you're not using those, well, you're not using those. But the reality is that all that content will be available within the Sunset Creator, including all the modern weapons in the sci-fi set, which you'd then be able to port over and mix and blend with all the sci-fi content. So you could make a dragon with a rocket launcher, and then upload that to the server. So yeah, so if you want access to the Sunset Creator, then you're going to be using a Super Siren. And it's still going to be cheaper than if we did separate subs. I mean, we could make a $5 sub for the Super Siren, I guess, and then make people subscribe then to the fantasy one for $6.50. But then that's going to be more than $10. Does that make sense? We're kind of still working out our payment plan, and looking at some people don't even want the content at all, but then we really want the creator to be like a really, really rich experience when you can really just open it up. And at the moment, when you open up the creator, everything in Syrinscape is there available on the left-hand column, and you can import the spider creepy sounds from one sound set, and you can import the siren sounds from another sound set and make one of those spider woman things, and just all mix it all together, hit upload, and upload it to the server, and it becomes just like any other normal sound set in your players. I really do make very long answers sometimes. I hope I'm making sense.
It's all right. He interested. Thank you for answering.
Oh, good. Yeah,
makes
cool.
Sense. I was just reading something, and where did it go? Oh, yeah. Rickmo says probably the same thing as I sent to you on Twitter a couple times is, are you planning on making a Reign of Winter set? And he says he's running it currently. I assume, and I could probably throw some advice on this. If you're running it currently, it probably will be made before you're done with the campaign.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're releasing a complete adventure path chapter every 2 months, and in the middle month we tear out monsters and locations that have occurred in various different adventure paths. So, for instance, the mouth horror, which is like an OGL way of saying gibbering mouther, appeared in the Dragon's Demand, and so that was one of the things we released in June as a separate standalone sound set, so you're not having to remember that it's in some random place. What was the question? Are we doing Reign of Winter? No, we're doing another sound set, another adventure path next.
The Strange Eons one, right?
No, I can't remember the name of it.
I was the one who sent you on. I sent you on Twitter that when you were done with the one that you were working on now, which is Hell's Vengeance, I think.
Yeah.
You should start on Crimson Throne because of the re-release.
We ignored you. Crimson Throne, that's it. Yes, so, thank you. Yes.
No, you didn't ignore me. You said you would do it, and I'm like, fucking yes.
Crimson Throne. That's right. Yes. So Crimson Throne is what we're doing next. So that puts any other adventure path being specifically supported at least like 12 months away.
Sorry
but
about that.
Of course, with Icy Wasteland and all the different monsters in Syrinscape, you can easily support Reign of Winter, but you just have to just do a little tiny bit more prep work yourself. What's really cool is with the Super Siren, you get access to all the community content, and the community in the creator is making all sorts of stuff, including adventure sound packs to support the world's oldest role-playing game, Adventures, which is really cool. And for instance, Caldeth, who's an awesome guy, made this amazing massive war sound set. So in the past, when some people have said, I want a massive field battle, I've popped on the forum and said, yeah, just combine this sound and this sound and this sound and this sound, and you can do that really well. Well, he just went in the creator, combined all those sounds, uploaded it, and now it's available as community content. There's a fantastic guy, Chris, who's making some stuff at the moment to support Zombie Orpheus Adventures, which we're going to be talking about very, very soon, which is like totally exciting and amazing.
Oh, you guys are talking to them too?
We are talking to them. I'm not sure whether it's official. Just pretend I didn't say it. If it's not official,
no, it's all right.
But anyway, but the community
here.
is, that's right, the community is building content for all sorts of other games. So yeah, so perhaps someone will grab Reign of Winter at some point and do some of those key encounters in that adventure path, and then you can go, yay!
I should I may hit you up after this because I had on the show a while ago, I had the Saving Throw show guys, and we just got talking about the Gamers movies because I had mentioned how the first two movies were basically like required watching in any D&D group I've been in.
Yeah.
Because they're so good. And then he was like, "Oh, I know those guys. I went to college with those guys." And I'm like, okay, really? And he's like, yeah, you want me to send him an email? And so that's how I started talking to the guys from Zombie Warfare. They're really great guys. I love
they're fantastic.
Getting a chance to
we DJ their show at Gen Con. We did last year and we are again this year. They're doing 2 Gamers Live events, and awesome. We have Jess, who's awesome chick, there with Syrinscape, just mashing it live, you know, Wilhelm screams, da-da-das, you know, environmental effects. She's like, it's one of the most intense experiences she has in her life at the moment. It's like, let's just get it right live. So she does a great job with that, and we love helping those guys out because they're awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, Rickbo says he said he was using some of the winter ones, which, trust me, I know I'm running Reign of Winter on stream right now. You make do with what you can, and you find places you can find what you can use. The winter ones obviously are really good for that. And he says Crimson Throne will be good. I agree. Crimson Throne will always be good because it's the best adventure path. Everyone should buy it, and especially the hardcover version. I hope I get a chance to talk about that with Jason Bowman when he comes on, because if people who know me on Twitter know, I send tweets to Wes Schneider and stuff all the time, because just to opine on our sessions, because they wrote the books, and it's my players love hearing responses from them. We asked I can't think of his name. We asked like a D&D creator the other day what the sound of a flump would be, and it was hilarious. And he just tweeted back, Chris Perkins. Chris Perkins, yeah. Like, we totally tweeted at Chris Perkins saying, we're having an argument here. We need to know what the sound of a flump is. And he just came back with long extended fart, as it flies using that method. And was like, I love Twitter. That's so awesome. So now that's the official sound of a flump in Syrinscape. Yeah, I talked about them on when Saving Throw was on, and Dom Zook, the producer, he was telling me that he had, for his games, he had created the non-good version called Grumps, and we had a conversation about them. If you guys want to know, I don't want to steal his intellectual property, so go watch that episode of Fuzzy Dice with Dom Zook and Amy Vorpal, and you can see us talking about Grumps there. Wes is a great guy. I love talking to him. I had just I had sent him a message, something, and his response about like some mothers deserve to get the plague. It just made my player he has a mother in this city who is like old and probably gonna get sick. It made him crack up. Like he loved it.
Oh my god.
Wes is a funny guy. I'd love to get a chance to hang out with him.
Yeah, he's great. I hang out with the Paizo guys for a whole week earlier in the year, and it's fantastic. He knows some really great places to eat in Seattle as well, which is really great.
That's awesome. Heavy Metal James says he's got to head off. Thank you for hanging out, man. You've been great. Take care, and thank you for following us, and thank you for hanging out for the show. For the rest of you guys that are sticking around, we've got just a little bit longer here, so we have plenty of time, hopefully, to get through some of your questions. I'd love to answer anything you guys want to talk about. We've talked a little bit about convention stuff. We've talked a lot about Syrinscape. What do you? I'm really curious. What do you? Are you guys running just one game, or do you have a bunch of shows going on the DiceStormers?
Yeah, so we have one channel, and we run various different campaigns that we rotate through. So we're playing Horde of the Dragon Queen. Derek is hosting that and GMing, doing a great job. We have a very long campaign called Under the Gods, which John and I pass back and forwards. John does a fantastic job of Cthulhu, because he's kind of spooky. I do crazy games, and I run Pathfinder as well. We're doing Dragon's Demand at the moment, which we're playing through. So yeah, there's sort of we just, depending on the mood and what we feel like, we just pick up another game, and that becomes the game we play. We generally play about once every 2 weeks, and then some of the team are trying to play twice as much as that at the moment. So and we play live on Twitch, and then release, just copy that over to YouTube at the moment. We've also got a lot of games in the can, which we haven't released from before Twitch as well.
I want to. I actually just wanted to discuss a little bit, because you guys are running Dragon's Demand, and I'm running the same thing. How much did you guys when just as a DM thing, when you started involving like the book that the players pull out of the cave? the big occult book. Did you incorporate any of Paizo's new kind of occultic stuff? Because I know one thing I didn't realize until I went looking was that actually the book that whole campaign is based around, of the Secrets of the Dreaming Dark, is detailed entirely in the occultic supplements. Like, they detail that specific book.
Cool. Yeah. So my players haven't got there yet, so that's a great heads up. So if any of you are watching, don't learn about it. That's fantastic. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, we played to that, and in that, I'm assuming you know where the players pick it up at the Wizard's Cave. There's that big, awesome monster there that I love so much, the Nithalgu thing, and one of my players died to that monster. He took a crit to the face and died. And because I had looked into the occult stuff, like, they had this tome, and they just kind of went looking through it, and I created, using the occult rules, I created a ritual that basically allowed them to bring this player back from the dead, but sort of to bind someone. Like, they didn't know it was happening, but their ritual involved them sort of contacting some great old demon, like, out in the depths of space, and he tried to put the soul back into the body, but he was going to use it as like a puppet, and someone else, like some other spirit, got there before him. So when they completed the ritual and they used a permanency scroll to cut the ritual off, they accidentally bound someone else's spirit in this dude's body. It was really interesting, but yeah, like I want to tell you, because it was like, you know, I was running that adventure, and that's that was sort of where things kind of veered off course for a little bit for me. Also, because I was wrapping that adventure into Jade Regent, I was like, we ended our first season. We're going to come back to it in the future, but the Green Dragon is actually chasing them as they travel up north in their caravan.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. I'm really enjoying Dragonstone, man. I love. It's kind of a little bit old school, and just some really great NPCs fleshed out, and I love the sort of the town. It's good, and it's not as information overload as kind of, you know, some adventure paths can be in my brain.
Yeah.
So it's really good stuff. It's a good place to start new players as well.
Do you run it with the whole experience thing? Because I know Dragon's Demand is set up the way, if you use normal experience rules, it is set to rocket players through those 7 levels real quick. And I don't use experience, which is why it took kind of a long time for me. But also, we didn't set it in the town that it was supposed to be set in. We set it in Sandpoint for the Rise of the Rune Lords thing. So, like, all this stuff was happening to Sandpoint after it had been attacked.
We do tend just to level when we randomly feel like it, or when we kind of feel like we're up to it, or obviously the module depends. But we are doing normal conventional experience points at the moment, and it seems to be working really fine.
Interesting, yeah. I had a question. I didn't want to skip it. I know Fix a Geek has said, do you have anything on Syrinscape for, I guess, modern or superhero games?
Yes, that's right. So absolutely. So we have an official license with Mutants and Masterminds. I already replied to him in the chat stream, so he's seen this. But I shall tell everyone else, we have the official license with Green Ronin for Mutants and Masterminds. So every month in the Sci-Fi Player 2, new superhero sound sets are appearing. So last month there was like a sort of a stellar throne world with, you know, all these incredible sort of epic sounding sort of big sci-fi business going on, and there was a Devourer, which is kind of a planet destroying style monster, and then there was a space fight. So absolutely everything you could possibly want superheroes wise will be coming out, and that's our plan for the rest of the year, is 2 superhero sound sets in Mutants and Masterminds for 12 months from today. So that's pretty exciting, actually. And they're a great organization, Green Ronin. Chris Pramus is a fantastic guy, especially if you call him Pramus as often as possible to get up his nose. It's lots of fun.
Yeah, I like the Green Ronin has a lot of interesting stuff. That I've referenced in the past. I haven't had a chance to speak to him about having him on the show, but they're good guys. They respond a lot on Twitter. So yeah,
he's a great guy.
I don't use the modern stuff very much, but I know it's there. So definitely.
Yeah, and there's in the fantasy player, there's a sound set called Modern Weapons, which gives you a whole host of one shots on the right hand side of Syrinscape, which will give you machine guns and handguns and a flamethrower, a taser, and a chainsaw. So that sort of makes all those things available in your fantasy games if you have that kind of game, which is a good kind of game in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Ender410 says, and I guess we've been talking a lot about this. He says, "Do you like adventure paths and modules, or do you prefer to create your own?" And I know what I'm gonna. I know kind of where I stand, because I'm probably going to discuss this in a lot more depth next week when I have Mike Shea on. But I know you run a lot of a lot of published stuff, or you read at least. Is that sort of where you're? Do you prefer that, or do you prefer to is that something you kind of just do because it's easier on you, but you prefer to homebrew?
I think it's honestly 50-50. I think I love Galarian. I think the more I've actually engaged, takes a long time, but the more I've engaged in the world and learnt about Pathfinder's incredible universe they've created, I think the more rich experience you have. And I love playing the actual adventure paths. As I said just before, I'm loving Dragon's Demand. At the very least, they're an exceptional source of fantastically colourful characters, monsters, and encounters. And I have an absolute passion for running my own homebrew stuff, as I said earlier in the show. Taking a fairy tale and seeing if I can make a D&D adventure out of it, or tag teaming with another GM and sort of creating this epic world-changing style campaign that sort of is going to take years and years and years to run. So I can't give you an answer because it's like yes and yes.
Yeah. I know for me, it's probably, I've definitely, I started, as any DM it does, when you first pick up the mantle, you kind of feel, I don't know if it's a pressure, but you just sort of feel that it's a thing DMs do, is that you need to create your own campaign. You need to kind of create a homebrew world, and you go to one of those random map generators and just generate something and start placing your cities down and stuff like that. But at some point of doing that, and I used to when I was a kid, when I was younger, I realized that I didn't enjoy the world building as much as I guess other DMs do. For me, I'm so much more interested in telling engaging stories, and you know, I much if I can pick up an adventure where someone has created a really cool story hook, and then I just have to do the work to kind of make it flow better, and if someone has created an interesting setting or something, you know, an interesting kind of story plot, I will be more than happy to take that and make it my own, rather than just try and write something remotely as good and probably fail miserably. I like adventures because, again, all the work that I probably wouldn't be very good at, which is the dungeon designing and creating interesting NPCs and coming up with the plot hooks and this and that, it's already done. So even if I don't want to use any of it, I know, I have a place to work from, and that for me, that kind of, I guess, some people may know I'm an illustrator by trade, or at least I was. I went to college for illustration and graphic design, and I work so much better with a design brief than I do on my own, which basically means if someone hands me a paper, says I need you to draw this, I will be able to do it so much better than if I have to just sit in front of a white piece of paper and come up with something interesting on my own. I don't know. That's just sort of how I function. That's how I sort of learned to DM. And so as such, I have a place in my heart for adventure paths and modules. I have an entire collection. I have all, you remember they published them in two, second edition and third edition, those AEG pamphlets, a pamphlet-sized module that's this big, and you just flip a couple pages. I have the entire collection of those on my computer that when I need to make a one-shot, which I often do for encounter role-playing stuff, I'll just flip through all of those and see if there's any kind of interesting things that pop out for me, and then I'll just grab a hook from those. I love pilfering from adventures and stuff people have written, and also just when you're talking about the reason I love Paizo's stuff so much is, yes, I'm aware the system has issues, and we all are, but when you have you have all this published stuff that you can just pull art and lore and just inspiration from, it's it's worth it to have on hand, you never go wrong with it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just so rich. It comes down to that moment when someone says, "Oh, what's the bar? What's the shopkeeper's name?" And you say, "Michael," and suddenly, kind of the immersion level goes, and everyone sort of laughs. And
have you ever seen the YouTube show called Natural 20?
No.
Oh my god! If you haven't, by the way, I gotta recommend this. It's hilarious. I had the director Dom Iovina on my show a while ago. It's this YouTube kind of the episodes are 5 minutes long, and it's this YouTube kind of comedy about people playing D&D, Pathfinder actually, and every episode is way more hilarious than it has any right to be, and the show should be so much more popular than it is. But one of the things that's hilarious is they have their DM who, I guess, like, one of his quirks is that he can't come up with NPC names on his own. So, like, in this one episode, he has to come up. He says, "You find an elf wizard before you," and they're like, "Oh, wizard, what is your name?" And he's like, Giblets. And then he's got to come up with the dragon's name. He's like, Asbestos. No, Asbestos the dragon. Which is funny because then it sets it up for in the future when they have an episode about him running like a published adventure. He's just like, they're asking this guy his name, and he's like, the DM is really calm, and he's just like rattling off all these facts about the DM. Right. Like, he gives him a last name and like who he bought his ship from and like what the condition that the sleeping guard suffered from, and the player's like, you didn't make up any of this.
That's right.
It's so funny, but that show is hilarious. You guys should check it out. It's called Natural 20 on YouTube.
I once called an NPC Andrew, so Andrew's become a running joke in our channel. And so when we ran the D&D Red Box game, which we did, one of the funnest things we've ever done, I GM'd like I was kind of this incompetent pre-teen GM, early teen GM, and all the players, all played my friends. And then we sort of played like we did old school, and I wasn't allowed to come up with anything myself. I could only pretty much read from the box text, which was hilarious. And I even misread things, and I didn't really understand hyphens. So every time I came to a bit like, oh, there are wolves are real, and sort of stuff like that. And the rule was that every time anyone died, their cousin would come in with precisely all the same equipment, and all the same stats and everything, except they would be called Andrew. So as the game progresses, more and more of the party comes to be called Andrew. Yeah. So I'll put a link in the chat there for that game. It's very, very fun, and it's just so funny. And what the players pretty much quickly worked out is if someone died, you could loot the body, and then the other player would walk in, we'll have the same stuff. It's like, yay! And there was only, well, I won't spoil it, but it was very, very, very fun. So yeah, they'll never let me forget the Andrew, I think it was some random guard or whatever, and now they take some glee in saying, oh, what's his name, Ben? It's like, shut up!
That's funny.
Yeah, it's very, very funny.
All right, so we've got just a couple minutes left here, and I wanna kind of start winding things down. By the way, before I do, thank you so much to everyone who is hanging out in chat. Thank you everyone for all your questions. You guys are awesome. Thank you to everyone who followed. You guys are great, and thank you for joining the community. Welcome to the madness and all that. And hopefully,
I'm in fact just about to go and run a game of Pathfinder for my son and his friends, which will be really great. So that's my next 5 hours worked out right there.
So as we but before we do all that, why don't you go ahead one more time and let everyone know who you are, what you what you do on the internet, and where they could get in touch with you. All your you can plug your social media links, websites, anything you want to throw in chat.
So I made Syrinscape. Hopefully you all know it makes amazing immersive sound for tabletop games. It's awesome. You can just go to that link that I just posted there, and it's a very, very good quick demo of exactly what Syrinscape is. If you've never heard of the DiceStormers, we play live. We play all in the same room. We play very stupid and very, very fun. So yeah, check out the first edition game, which I just posted there. It's highly stupid, and there's Cthulhu, which with really lots and lots of mood. There's Cthulhu with crazy antics. Check out the DiceStormers there. How can I do this? I can go to Twitch, my profile. Yeah, I mean, I'll just search for Syrinscape and you'll find all the links to me. And as we were saying, just tweet straight out. Ask what you want. Oh, the forums are a really, really useful place to communicate. And really, there's actually a fantastic team of people there who respond and answer questions and discuss, and then obviously there's advocating that goes on for various different features that people want in Syrinscape. Pretty much the only reason half of the really great features are in Syrinscape is because people ask for them, and the other half was my fantastic, awesome ideas and invention for what I wanted at my table. So yeah, that's been Syrinscape's pathway. So jump on board and help contribute to making it awesome in the future.
Absolutely. And once again, guys, thank you so much. I want you to go ahead and hit him up on Twitter. Say thank you to Ben for hanging out here. being an awesome guest, and making this show great. Thank you guys, as always, for hanging out. Before we go, I just want to go through some last minute stuff. Remind you guys, as always, tomorrow on the Encounter Roleplay channel, so that's twitch.tv/Encounter Roleplay at 4 p.m. Eastern, we are starting a brand new season of Call of Cthulhu. I will be joining my good friends Mythomatic, Scarstar, and hopefully Ginger Snapper as we go right into that. That'll actually be my first Call of Cthulhu game that I'm playing with these guys. I just somehow ended up in that group as an NPC and then continued on as a player. So that I'm now part of that. And also, immediately after that, Thursdays at 1 p.m., as you can see down below, I host Reign of Winter on Encounter Roleplay. It's great, it's awesome, and of course, don't miss next week here on the Fuzzy Dice Show, where I'm going to be hanging out with Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, and also the publisher, or the writer of the Lazy Dungeon Master Guide, which is an awesome, awesome book. He'll be here. We'll be talking about all kinds of things. Hopefully another great show for you. But thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you again to Ben for being my great guest and putting on a good show. And you guys, once again, if you want to keep up with everything that's going on here, you got to hit follow and you got to join Dice Thulu in the chat, because that's the only way to keep up with everything that's going on here in the Exploding Dice. We're going to get out of here. You guys have a great day. Be sure to thank Ben on Twitter. Be sure to hit me up on Twitter, say what you thought. And as always, I will see you next week. Take care, guys.